All right, guys, so once again, we got a little bit of, I decided to do this video in my kitchen, so I don't know why. It's just a cleaner backdrop. Today we're gonna be talking about Avengers Endgame, and as per usual, I'm gonna be starting this off with like some no spoiler talk, just to kind of let you know my general thoughts, and then we'll get into some more specific things I like. This is definitely gonna have a lot more spoiler discussion going forward versus, you know, just like basic stuff in the beginning, because it's just the nature of the past 10 years we've been on. But if you kind of just want to know what I liked, it was pretty much everything. I think this movie, I always said that, you know, how amazing Infinity War was would probably retroactively be affected by how they stuck the landing at Endgame, and I 100% think that they stuck the landing. This was the perfect way to end off like the first 10 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all the way back from Iron Man 1 that I still distinctly remember seeing in theaters with my friends back in 2008, and then everything that followed. And it all just culminated into this moment, and the whole thing was spectacular. I really enjoyed it. And I can't imagine many Marvel fans not being happy with how this movie ended off. And I'm not trying to say it is a perfect movie. I would say that Infinity War as a whole kind of came together a little bit cleaner. I honestly think this movie could have easily been, you know, 3.5 to 4 hours long, and it would have comfortably filled up that space. I'm glad they didn't split this into 2 different pieces, though. I'm kind of glad that they left it all as one thing, but I wouldn't be disappointed if there was like an extended cut where they kind of added a little bit more, specifically in the beginning. I think the beginning needs a little bit more fleshing out, but then once the story really starts going, you're there. And I live for it. This movie is going to make you feel the entire spectrum of human emotions as long as you have them. It does so many different little callbacks. It brings back characters from like the entire arc, and sometimes in big ways, sometimes in little ways. And it was just stunning to me. Now, I would do everything in your power to avoid spoilers. I think at this point, this is probably what I'm going to be talking about, some of the specific stuff I really like, because that's just the nature of this kind of movie. I want to talk about it. I'm excited about it. But, you know, if for some reason you're on the fence about seeing this movie and you like Marvel movies, or you liked any Marvel movie, or you were a big fan of Infinity War, go see it. I can't say it's going to mean as much to somebody who just kind of came in towards the end as it would people who have been along for the entire ride, but it is definitely still like a fantastically epic movie. It's like, I know tons of people who weren't really that into the MCU, who had seen like a handful of movies and saw Infinity War and were blown away by Infinity War. And that's definitely gonna go forward with this. So basically, if you're on the fence, go see it. If you're somebody who wants to see it but might be trying to wait, I would not wait. I would do whatever you can to see the movie as soon as possible, because people are assholes and they will spoil it for you casually. So I would definitely recommend going to see it. Now we're getting to the spoilers. This is the spoiler portion of this video. If you've not seen Avengers Endgame, it is now time to click off the video. All right, so let's get into the spoilers. So obviously in the beginning, it did start off like pretty, like it was very like quick, snappy, getting from one point, getting to the next. And it felt a little rushed, but it's like clearly they were just trying to get to the end game, you know, as to say. They kind of had to get rid of some stuff in the beginning, or get some stuff out of the way in the beginning, so that they could get to the meat and potatoes of the movie. But the intro of the movie was amazing. Like Clint's family, like the second they showed up on screen, like I couldn't stop myself. I was like, oh no. And then the people around me started realizing what was gonna happen. And I'm like, how are y'all just gasping now when the family starts disappearing? And you didn't notice when they walked on screen, when they opened it with that. Oh my God. And like the whole family just goes. And I was like, oh my Jesus. For some reason, I didn't think they were gonna show it. For some reason, I thought they were just gonna open with him being Ronin and like running around killing people, and that somebody was gonna make the comments like, well, you know, the man's lost everything. I didn't think they'd actually go back and show what happened, but they did. They went there. It was awesome, but heartbreaking. And I was like, they just set this up. So honestly, that is one thing that I love between both movies. Infinity War has that incredible moment on the ship with the Asgardians, and Loki eats it, and then like they basically almost kill Thor entirely, and lays out the Hulk, who literally only makes it because he gets beamed back to Earth by Heimdall right before he gets killed. Super intense. And then this really just carries that on in a different way, with that emotionally gut-wrenching moment of his entire family disappearing, which was just, oh my God. I think they should have changed the rat to a mouse, because then it could have been like, haha, look, Mickey Mouse saving the universe by beaming Scotty back, beaming little Scott boy back. But rat was cool, so rat essentially contributed to saving the universe. Then obviously you get the moment where they go ask Tony for help, and you're like, oh well, Tony will definitely want to help, even though he's kind of moved off into the middle of nowheres. And, you know, because he's going to feel guilty about Peter. And then he has a kid. And at that point, I'm still thinking, like, I'm not saying that what they do with the time travel stuff is super clean in this, but, like, time travel stuff is never clean. But at least with that, like, like, at the time, I was like, okay, he's not going to want to go back because it's going to affect his future. But they were like, no, that's not how it works. We're just basically gonna we're just getting the stones to just snap them back into existence, as if like that part didn't happen, but we're not gonna go back in time. They're just gonna appear, and there's just gonna be this 5-year gap. But still, I was like, even though once you find that out, he's still not gonna wanna go, because he's not gonna wanna jeopardize himself or jeopardize making the world even worse for his daughter, for his child, and like the fact that he's like maybe almost at peace, but then of course, he can't rest yet. So he obviously figures out what to do and help save the day. And I was like, and that moment where he just picks up the picture of him and Peter, Spider-Man, I was like, oh my God. And then obviously before that 5 years later thing, I honestly feel, I like the moment. There's like parts in the fight that I actually really like Captain Marvel being there, but I don't feel like she was given enough time to talk and like enough time interacting with those characters for me to really care about her in the scope of this movie. You know, I liked the Captain Marvel movie, but I didn't think she needed to be in this. And I'm glad they didn't let her just Superman the situation, but she kind of just came in and provided some really convenient options. Like she was there to make sure that, you know, like Thanos could had to pull one of the stones off, which weakened the connection. And then that let Tony, you know, essentially sacrifice himself there at the end to get all the stones back. And, you know, she's the reason why they didn't die in space. But I feel like they could have worked around that. Like they didn't necessarily need her for that either. Like, and I really like the scene at the end of her movie when they're like, okay, how long has this transponder been going off? Like this has been going on for 2 weeks. And then she just like shows up. She's like, where's Fury? I actually like that. I like her character. I just didn't necessarily think she needed to be in this. I don't think there was enough time for her to like fully shine. And especially if you hadn't seen the Captain Marvel movie, like you're not gonna get any shred of her like personality or anything like that. Obviously there was a lot of characters to juggle in Infinity War, and then this kind of had to juggle a lot of those characters in even smaller amount of time. So while I'm fine with Captain Marvel being in the movie and I liked a lot of the moments she had, I feel like she didn't really need to be there. But I will say, I don't think she cheapened anything. There is kind of an issue I had where I feel like Thor didn't really get his kind of like completed moment or an arc. Like I feel like he had a really great moment at the end of like, you know, during the last one, and then obviously he fails, and then he's dealing with all these issues and struggles at the beginning of this one, and feels like he has to do something for redemption. And I don't necessarily feel like he gets that moment in this because, you know, because like Tony's obviously the one who like, you know, fixes things at the very end. Thor obviously helps hold him off, but he gets knocked out of that fight too. So I don't really feel like he gets over the moment, you know, because he just really impulsively, when he kills Thanos early on, that's clearly haunts him forever, because he feels like he is the main person to blame at the end of the first one for not, you know, getting him in the head or actually getting the proper kill shot. So I don't feel like he gets his satisfied arc. I am really glad that they stuck him in the Guardians, because I know originally he was supposed to kind of be out after this. So I'm glad that he at least gets a chance to kind of continue on in that vein, because I think he decided that he was kind of really into the character after they did Ragnarok. So I'm kind of glad to see. I'm very excited to see what happens in that regard. But I feel like he got a little bit cheated in this one. But I feel like it's because he had so many awesome moments in the last one. They didn't know how to fix that in this particular movie, because like they had to give Captain America more time. They had to give obviously Tony more time. And I feel like there must have been a way to make Thor have at least one more, like obviously he has a moment where he like, you know, he talks to his mom and he snaps out of it and everything kind of gets better in that regard. But I just feel like there was something missing there. And I feel like, you know, maybe same thing with the Hulk. I feel like the Hulk might have gotten cheated a little bit, but I get it. It's hard to juggle that many characters. Hawkeye finally got his dues. Hawkeye was a badass in this movie. So many emotional moments, so many like great fighting moments, so many like literally save the day moments from Hawkeye. Super good. Obviously the Vormir scene, I was like, when they said that they were the ones going to Vormir, and I'm like, shit, one of them's dying. And I was like, unless they can kind of pull some weird bullshit where he's like, I've sacrificed so much, but I guess like it's different if your family's taken away from you. And when a mad titan snaps his fingers and kills half the population randomly, I guess that's a little bit different than actively sacrificing something for the stone. But I was like, there's no way that they're gonna let him die before he brings his family back. There's no way that he's gonna he's gonna sacrifice himself to get the stone, and then she's gonna go back and his family's just gonna be there 5 years having passed and then find out that their dad's dead the same way that he basically had to deal with them dying. I'm like, there's no way they're gonna do that. So obviously she was gonna sacrifice herself. I loved the fact that they kept going back and forth and that it really went down to the bitter end and he tried so hard to save her and I'm working really hard. Like that was a genuine surprising moment for me, the same way that like Gamora was a surprising moment for me. Even though you know when you're going to Vormir something bad's gonna happen, it was still like, I don't think anybody expected anything to happen to Black Widow. Everybody was like, okay, well, you know, it's gonna be either Tony or Cap. Somebody's gonna die. Something bad's gonna happen to either Tony or Captain America, or maybe both. No one was expecting anything to happen to Black Widow, I don't think. So I feel like that was like a genuine good shock moment. There's just so much. I really like the fact that people kind of got to go back in time and have moments with, you know, things from their past. And there was a lot of foreshadowing, like when Tony's talking to his dad and he says the moment, like when he's like, I kind of wish I'd be happy with a girl because I feel like she'd be less like me. And the whole thing about like, you know, him being too self-serving for himself. And then, you know, Tony obviously at that point had made tons of personal sacrifices, but then at the end actually making the full sacrifice, knowing full well that his body was not going to be able to handle what he was going to do, was just such a good moment. And I knew it was like, I'm going to say I'm pissed off. There's a kid that comes to my stream. He's not even a kid. He's an adult. And literally 10 seconds before I ended my stream, this kid comes in and resubs. I keep saying kid. This adult comes in and resubs and says Iron Man dies in Endgame. And he meant it as a joke. You can't joke about things that might actually happen. And then I said, well, if it happens, you're getting banned. And I feel like I can't ban him because if he comes to my stream, he'll know. And that will be me, the dick, spoiling it for him because he doesn't see it for like 2 days apparently. But I feel like he deserves it because then that was fresh in my mind. So when it's happening, I'm half dealing with the emotional repercussions of what I'm watching on screen, and then half dealing with the fact that I'm like, that little shit. Like, if you want to try to jokingly spoil Endgame, you got to be like, wow, I can't believe that Thanos just shit in the gauntlet, and then everybody got pink eye. Crazy. You know? You got to make it so ridiculous and out of left field that, like, it wouldn't make sense. But what an incredible moment though, because then you get the moment where, you know, as crazy as Gwyneth Paltrow is, you have the moment where Pepper's just kind of like, you can finally rest, we'll be okay. Yeah, I'm fighting back the tears right now to get through this review, but like it'll make you feel the full spectrum of human emotions if you let it happen. There's so many like epic moments, there's so many just dark moments or just sad moments of like self-sacrifice. Did anybody else get the feeling that like when Tony snapped and everybody started dusting, I was like, man, those Chitauri warriors have families somewhere. They're just gonna try to do the same thing all over again. But yeah, as sad as it is to have Iron Man gone, to have Tony gone, because Tony's just like, Tony for one, he started it. Robert Downey Jr. is fantastic in the role, and I've said this so many times, that like the Marvel Cinematic Universe could not have gotten this far if they hadn't blown that Iron Man movie out of the park. Like obviously the amazing script and like the writing and everything in that first Iron Man obviously did incredible things for it as well. But if he hadn't been such a good Tony Stark, I don't think people would have cared as much. It's just incredible to me what they've managed to accomplish. And it's really sad to see him go, but I know that they couldn't have just kept him around and been like, oh yeah, Tony's just off living at a lake now. You're not gonna get any of him. Like they kind of had to rest him, sadly. Like it really sucked after seeing him have a kid and him interacting with that kid. And then now that kid has to like live on with like without him and like all that really sucks, but Jesus, they did it. And it's like they didn't even give you too much time to linger on being really sad about that. Like obviously it goes into the funeral scene, but then it's like the funeral scene's happening to this like really kind of like upbeat video that he left behind in case something really bad happened in the time travel stuff. And then it's just panning over all these different characters from the past 10 years. And if you missed it, that like tall kid that they pan on in the back, that's the kid from the third Iron Man movie. I don't like the third Iron Man movie, but I feel like the third Iron Man movie deals with a lot of really good I like the stuff when it deals with Tony and his obvious like issues with like PTSD and stuff. I just don't like the way the whole movie came together as a whole, but like, you know, that kid was cool and it was really cool to bring that kid back for that funeral scene. Oh, obviously, Captain America moment. That's where I feel like some of the time stuff gets a little bit tricky, but I feel like if you think about it, I feel like he kind of lived that out on like an alternate timeline and then just kind of zooped back or something after he left the stone, so everything just kind of went back to normal type thing. But you know, I'm also fine with him being gone too. because again, he's also somebody that wouldn't really have been able to just retire. And if you're trying to give it on to like the next crop of people, that's kind of what you got to do. And I feel like that's almost how they turned it around though. So you have this really emotional, crushing moment of Tony dying, and then you have like Cap passing on the shield to Sam to be the new Captain America, and then it kind of just ends with him like happily dancing with Peggy, which was just so emotionally cute and nice. And then you kind of got to end it off happy, and then you get that ending montage. And that is Twilight. That is how you do an ending montage to like end off like a 10-year saga of something. Because you don't make a little montage scene for every single character that's ever been in the movie. You kind of go through them from like, you know, the smaller characters up to the big ones. And then like the really big dog main Avengers, that's who get their like super important moment. And you have this awesome epic music going on behind it. That is how you do an ending montage. And then it's how you sign off the first 10 years, you know? And then obviously at the end, you get the Marvel sign with the clanking as the very nice send-off of the sound of Iron Man making his suit of armor in the very first movie, which was just a nice little send-off. Yeah, last thing I'll say is, I've been saying this for years, fuck Nebula. Like, everybody wants to blame Peter Quill for the last one, but like, who told Peter that Gamora was dead? She could have just shut her damn mouth for a few minutes. She could have even been like, he's just trying to like emotionally manipulate you right now. Let's just finish this and then deal with the repercussions of it after. Or she could have been helping. She's also just standing in the background. I get that she just lost her sister. I get that that's also a thing. But like, you know that Peter Quill is an incredibly emotionally impulsive individual. We've never seen anything but that in the Guardians of the Galaxy series. This is just the first time it didn't work out for him. It's the same kind. I made an entire video about this on my second channel, which I don't upload to because I'm horrible and don't have enough time. But I made an entire video about this. It's like he has shown us this personality trait every movie, and this is something that we all like applaud him for when it's any other movie, any other Guardians movie, and this is just the first time that didn't work out, and everybody wants to blame him. It's Nebula's fault, and then this one, Nebula's fault again. Nebula's fault all over again. I get that it's not really her fault, and it was like, Nebula from the past, but like, who beams Thanos? Who time travel beams Thanos to the present to fuck shit up, resulting in Tony Stark's death? Nebula. Who gives Star-Lord just the right amount of information to have him freak out? Nebula. Nebula ruined everything. So yeah, that is gonna do it for my thoughts on Infinity War. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comment section down below. What did you like? What did you not like? I'm definitely gonna see this again. I am really hoping that this tops Avatar's grossing numbers. I don't know if that'll happen, but I'm really hoping for it. But yeah, that is gonna do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you had a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all later.